All right, Mets fans, we're back at it with our latest Big Mets Updates segment. I'm currently recording this live in our post-game segment the night before. Many of you guys are watching this after the fact as the Mets took care of business against the Nationals. Oh, I don't know, just by dominating them, outscoring them 22-2 here that we saw. 10 runs in back-to-back games. Luis Angel Acuna with the 8th inning home run and a multi-RBI day in back-to-back games. Yeah, we're feeling pretty good in Mets land right now. So as you're sipping that morning coffee, watching the post-game coverage, if you missed it live, the way that our 1,400 concurrent viewers live on YouTube and X certainly having it right now, make sure you're watching it, and thank you so much in advance for exactly that. But we got some updates to get into, so let's break down what exactly those updates are going to find themselves being, folks, because as we know, there is one thing that came out earlier today that I did speak on in a video, but I don't know if that video is going to be staying on the channel. We'll see. Let's talk here about Steve Cohen, just ever so briefly. Yes, Steve, the man, the myth, the legend, is stepping down from actively trading at .72 and will focus on mentoring talent, running the firm, and rebuilding the New York Mets. Yes, you heard that correctly. Steve Cohen is going to only invest more time into the Mets. This is the same owner that shows up to so many games throughout the regular season. This is the same owner that has went out of his way to explain to fans over the past month that he's watching tight wildcard race type competitions between the Braves and the Phillies when they went toe-to-toe, showcasing his ability to scoreboard watch earlier in the year when no other roughly $20 billion net worth of an owner would find himself doing. Steve Cohen has been in a lot of ways an anomaly of an owner, especially at the Major League Baseball level. And now you're telling me that he's going to only be more active with the Mets? Sign me the heck up. Steve Cohen, we have loved so much about this man since buying the team. It hasn't been perfect. We're aware of that, but there are things trending in the right direction. And in this so-called punt year, the Mets are fully in line to have themselves a 90-plus win season and hopefully crack playoffs. Not a bad position to be in with their first time hiring David Stearns. And for those that are saying, why couldn't this happen sooner? Well, Steve Cohen did try to secure David Stearns as soon as he became Mets owner back in the offseason there of 2020, 2021, right around that area, right? So, yeah, they've wanted him for a long time. They got him, and we're seeing the immediate impact. So, shout out to Uncle Stevie. Excited to see him potentially have more of an impact. I don't expect much to change, if at all. But again, anything is a good thing here with Steve Cohen having his hands on the Mets. Usually that leads to success. That leads to the right decisions. Even if it means you have to go through your trial and error, that's okay for a first-time owner as long as he learns from mistakes in the past. And he surely has done exactly that we have seen over the past calendar year plus. So that's lace there on Steve Cohen. That's not even why you clicked on the video. I just wanted to throw that little nugget in there in case you missed it. Let's talk now on the greatness, which is Kodai Senga, everybody. Kodai Sengas says that he hopes to pitch an inning with AAA Syracuse this weekend, and that is huge. The Mets believe that as long as Kodai Senga pitches this inning and there's not a problem, he will be full-fledged, ready to go to return to the Mets rotation next week. September 25th is the earliest he can be activated off the injured list there to face off against the Atlanta Braves, the same team that he struck out 9 against there a couple months ago there that we saw, and I think it was the beginning of August when Senga made his return. Either way, Senga went down with the injury that we saw, which was so heartbreaking. He's looking back. The mechanics are looking good. And even if the Mets don't get him to really go deep into ball games, having Kodai Senga, even for an inning, is such an X factor because he's without question one of, if not arguably, your most dominant arm that you could throw out there each and every way possible. We are pumped up to see what Kodai Senga can do back in this Mets rotation. Expect to see him on the mound for the Syracuse Mets as soon as this weekend. Let me know your initial reactions in the comments down below to that one, folks. Thank you so much in advance for doing exactly that. Now, he should pitch 2 innings. We'll see. He's going to pitch at least 1, and they'll go from there. Now let's also talk about some other news. We were talking just yesterday about Brett Baty and what felt like his year is done. Not the case. Brett the Mets back, baby. Baty, who was batting in DH, starting for AAA Syracuse after being out the past couple weeks with a thumb injury. Baty, who was initially the front runner to secure a spot on the roster for the September Cups for the Mets. The only reason why it didn't happen is because he went down with his thumb injury. Baty now back healthy, batting there for the Syracuse Mets. We know that Mendoza has a soft spot for him, and we know that Baty may find himself having a spot on this roster. God willing, it's not because of any injuries, but should the Mets call upon Brett Baty, that is in fact still a possibility and is in play according to Carlos Mendoza before the end of the regular season. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but wouldn't it be amazing if Brett Baty got called up for the Atlanta Braves series, then had himself a pinch hit bomb reminiscent of the first home run he had there in Atlanta late in the season a couple years ago? I know, I'm just trying to write a story when we need to focus on just winning ball games, but man, oh man, does that sound pretty cool if that were to happen. So Brett Baty, who looked fantastic overall at the AAA level, was really turning things things on and getting hot at the right time up until his injury, is now looking to bounce back and impact this Mets team once more before the end of the season. Are you guys in favor or are you against Brett Baty? Let me know in the comments for my live viewers, to our 1,400 concurrent, and to our replay viewers in the comments down below. The same applies to each and every one of you. Paul Blackburn, everybody. Paul received close to 10 PRP injections to remedy his back issue. It's a very bizarre one for him. You know, he said that there's nothing set in stone and his return is contingent upon how he feels. The good news, though, that we heard from Paul Blackburn here, that you see, again, he's compressing. He said the leaking is his spinal fluid leak feels like compressing a Pepsi can, according to Anthony Como here with a quote. He received about 10 PRP injections that we mentioned in his back, and he's feeling better now, though. Blackburn will play catch in hopes of returning as soon as the middle of next week. The great news, when Paul Blackburn returns, he's likely going to come in as a multi-inning reliever role, because this is Tyler McGill's job to lose now, right? We all know that this is the case. Let's see. Danilo Nunez is done. We've known that Danilo Nunez is done. Andy Martino, however, did just report to confirm that Danilo Nunez is done for the year and will be dealing with surgery. That is a bummer. We all knew, for all that are unaware, this was announced over this past week that Danilo Nunez's season was already done. We already knew that he wasn't coming back, but now, sadly, like the guy that we're about to discuss, and Christin Scott, he's going to be on the shelf for a bit as Nunez is having surgery. I'd imagine it's Tommy John, which is definitely heartbreaking for a guy that was looking so lively with the fastball and the slider. Our mini Edwin Diaz in so many ways is what I love to call Danilo Nunez, with his 12K per nine to his 2 walks per nine, a 10K to walk ratio, one of the best in the league, 30 plus innings of dominant baseball with a 2.4 ERA, expected numbers just as good, disgusting FIP and WHIP. What didn't you get from Danilo Nunez, and a fantastic relief role this season? Now, sadly, he's not going to be with the Mets, not only for the remainder of the season, but is probably going to miss a good chunk of next year. Should those reports be accurate there from Andy Martino? I'm going to double check right now, and I'm going to check with my other account, Andy, who years ago decided to block me the same way that he blocked everyone else. Tends to happen for a guy that almost like he has the worst takes imaginable. It is what it is. He doesn't know, however, that I got more than one account. So we're going to look right now and see if he tweeted anything, reported anything. I don't see anything that is stating that, okay, Martino just laid a bombshell on Nunez or anything like that. But let me double check here. Not seeing anything yet, folks. All I know is that Nunez was going to be out. Like, we knew Nunez was going to be out. So if he has surgery, won't shock me if that happens. The same way, Pronator is not Tommy John, is it? No, I don't believe it is. I don't. So if that's what is happening, then okay, regarding Danilo Nunez. We'll wait further word on that right now as we're actively live, 10:34 p.m. Eastern. To my viewers that are watching this on replay that are wondering what's going on here. But speaking of injuries and speaking of guys whose seasons are now coming to an end, let's talk about one who's not only coming to an end, came to an end, a guy that was expected to be on the shelf for most, if not all, of 2025 has officially been confirmed as, yes, Christin Scott is now down, and he is out for the remainder not only of the season, but he's pretty much on the shelf until 2026 with Tommy John reconstructive surgery. He's going to be getting that brace, which I know a lot of guys this year, Nate Lavender, Brooks Raley, among others, have been getting for the Mets in their Tommy John surgeries. Christin Scott, who posted right around a 4.5 ERA and just under 50 innings this season, looked brilliant at times, couldn't handle lefty batters, couldn't handle that sweeper down and in on them, and also couldn't handle giving up at least 1 home run per start. However, Christin Scott, who is a brilliant quick high riser as a Mets minor league pitcher of the year in 2023, rising from a reliever turned starter, a fantastic K to walk ratio, the best in all minor league baseball over the past year span, not named Paul Skeens. That is how dominant he was with the strike zone. However, at the MLB level, in that partially torn UCL, that was a problem for him a year ago that the Mets prolonged to make sure that he didn't have Tommy John surgery then. They knew he was always inevitably getting surgery this offseason, but they wanted to see if they could try to get him healthy enough to impact the Mets at all before the end of the year. He tried his best. It just didn't happen. It sucks. I love what I do. This is his best job in the world, according to Christin Scott here, talking about the news. Very unfortunate, and yes, that likely means that he's out for the majority, or at least a year from now. So at earliest, we'll probably see Christin Scott is right around this same time next year, late September, if he fully ramps up, because they're going to have a 6-month rehab that you're dealing just with healing from the brace and the surgery alone. Then you have your multiple months of rehab from there. They're ramping up to get back to being an MLB caliber pitcher. I know Scott wasn't overly dominant during his time with the Mets this year, but I firmly believe a healthy UCL is going to have him not only confident, not having to worry about an innings limit that he's finding himself on, not having to worry about constantly checking that thing and making sure that's staying afloat and not having to deal with constant inflammation there. I think that we have yet to see the best of Christin Scott by far. I'm damn excited to see what his future holds in this organization. Even though we won't see much over the next year, I'm wishing him a very well, a speedy, but first and foremost, a healthy recovery there from his reconstructive Tommy John surgery. And the Mets, who have plenty of in-house options, even guys like Jose Butto that they may consider in the rotation next year, Brandon Sproat, Joe Nathan, Noel McLean, all high risers in the organization this season. And then you add in what David Stearns and Steve Cohen are inevitably going to do that we posted a short on earlier today on potentially bringing back one, if not both, of Sean Mania there and also Luis Severino. Maybe they're going to go land themselves a Corbin Burns. Maybe they're going to look for a reclamation project, which I absolutely love the thought of right now, and a Walker Buehler. That feels so David Stearns to get a reclamation, a guy coming off of what it's been a wishy-washy year, coming back from Tommy John surgery, a guy that's dominated the Mets plenty in the past. I think they could still get some of his best baseball out of there on a short-term deal. Either way, we will have plenty of time this offseason to break down how the Mets go about their rotation, but for now, their vision is set, and they know how to handle things with Christin Scott out for at least the next calendar season. But all right, folks, now that we talked there on all the latest Big Mets updates, let's transition into this one, and let's get into our live callers and our post-game coverage that we're still doing live here. So to all my viewers that just watch this as a pre-recorded video, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What is your takeaway from the latest Big Mets updates as Kodai Sengas is ramping up beginning this weekend? He'll be back next week, barring changes. Brett Baty wants to be back on this roster, and it seems like Carlos Mendoza tends to agree. Paul Blackburn still has that spinal fluid issue going on, received 10 PRP injections, and he's ready to get back out there for the Mets at some point next week, even as a multi-in reliever, and Christin Scott is on the shelf for the next year plus. Let me know your thoughts down below. So all my live viewers, let's continue on with the live show, and to my replay viewers, and everyone that watched the video, thank you all so much. Let's go Mets, baby, and I will see you all for our next post-game coverage there, Game 1 against the Phillies this Thursday.